Silver felt the pain of Mr. Slammy today with an absolute plunge in price. In fact, one can make a cogent argument that it was a flash crash. But there's some good news with silver I'm going to report in this video as we explore. All of the metals have taken a massive beating today, with silver taking the brunt of it. But nonetheless, there is some hope for silver for sure, especially considering how far we've come in 2025. But whenever there's a dip in the price, or a plunge in the price, or even a flash crash, I'm telling you, that's the time to get in my view, if you're looking to buy. Now, before you buy any silver from my channel sponsor, Summit Metals, or any other company, make sure you understand that whenever you make a purchase, the price could fall even more. In fact, I was very lucky to make a purchase fairly recently here today, and before right at the bottom of the market. That doesn't happen too often for a collector piece I was looking for, but nonetheless, silver is indeed a metal that will be volatile, just as I reported in yesterday's market report, pretty much predicting what would happen today. And indeed it did. Mr. Slammy was in full effect. But nonetheless, let's see what was behind some of this move for the market today. Kitco is reporting that prices are sharply down in trading as marketplace hopes for a December U.S. interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve have dimmed late this week. Heavy profit-taking pressure from the shorter-term futures traders is also featured in both metals today. Now, I'm going to stop right there, because it's not just with week-long liquidation, but many people feel that is due to market suppression. The price of silver going down because of the big bullion banks making their move. And price suppression is a lot of people are thinking is happening, manipulation. And I don't rule that out. However, these high-frequency trades that are occurred in coordinated effort by many of these banks, people own those contracts. People own those ETFs, and likely, probably, people are just cashing out. But I certainly don't think that we should rule out any effort that behind that is sprinkled in is some manipulation by the big banks of short positions. And so, again, I want to be as open-minded as possible. However, something like this really needs to be approved in a court of law. But nonetheless, we'll cover it here. I want to keep an open mind as to what's going on in the silver market. But remember, natural market forces play, I think, an even bigger role here. And it does not mean that price suppression cannot occur piggybacking on that natural market. So week-long liquidation is something else that is coming into as a factor in play here as well. Now, the U.S. stock index has tumbled Thursday, and we're also down overnight, halting a rally this week that was spurred by the prospects of a U.S. government reopening. Hawkish statements from the Federal Reserve officials ahead of a deluge of U.S. economic data spooked traders and investors. With optimism about the shutdown's resolution priced in, concern about a stock valuation reemerged, prompting a sell-off in tech giants. As Fed officials Thursday signaled caution about future U.S. rate cuts, money markets now put the odds of a December rate cut below 50%. And this is something that we can verify here. In fact, yesterday, at late trading, it was just above 50%. Now it's 45.9%. So we may not get a rate cut in December, according to those analysts, with 54.1% of them thinking that the rates are going to stay exactly where they are at. And that has in turn strengthened the dollar. The dollar has buoyed up a little bit here to 99.28, a marginally increase, but obviously it has caused the precious metal markets to decline pretty rapidly. So what's the tail of the tape with regards to the numbers? Well, gold is down 2.17%, down $90.50 today to $4,080. Actually, just ticked down a little bit more. It's down $91.50. Silver is down 3.19%, an absolute plunge today, down $1.67 right now. But it was more than half of that down early in trading. It's now at $50.66. It started out at $53.60 before the big plunge. Then it dropped to as low as $50 an ounce, $50.02 at the bottom today. So what happened next is people started buying based off of the opportunity. There were buyers out there. They got in. And it's smart of them to do that. But silver barely held on to $50. But you know what? If we can close above $50 today, and who knows what can happen in the next few minutes here before the markets close, that is a victory, folks. That's right. I'm not dissuaded at all by this little flash crash, but make no mistake, over $3.50 move down in one day is dramatic. That's a big move down. That is a flash crash. Heck, I remember buying silver when it was just above that amount per ounce, and here we're seeing it drop $3.50. But remember, out of the $50, it's not as big a deal, but nonetheless, that's a massive move for one day. But in the grand scheme of things, silver still trading above $50 is a very, very good thing, folks. They can only do so much. Now, platinum and palladium also got hit just as hard, and even rhodium did not escape this deluge in terms of the price. It's down $200 today. So that's what's happening there. Pretty amazing to see these markets move in such a way. Now, the Federal Bank of St. Louis President Alberto Musalem said Fed officials should move cautiously on rates with inflation running above target. By the way, that inflation is officially at 3%, but many people feel it's a lot higher than that based off of how they used to report inflation. Nonetheless, one thing is for sure, things are more expensive and they continue to run hot, and the Federal Reserve is continuing to print money. Now, Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack said U.S. monetary policy should remain somewhat restrictive. Minneapolis Fed President Keel Kashkari said he didn't support the last cut and is undecided on December. It's an expensive market, and expensive markets need lower rates to help justify today's elevated valuation. Matt Milley of Miller and Tabak Company also, as reported by Bloomberg, so the idea that this could change quickly with so much data coming out all at once, this uncertainty is raising some fear in the marketplace, and that could have a whipsaw effect on the precious metal markets, which means they could shoot right back up again. In other news, the U.S. and Argentina reached a deal to deepen bilateral trade and investment cooperation. The White House said Thursday in a notice posted to the government website the countries will open up their markets to each on their key products, according to the White House statement that said Argentina would provide preferential markets access to U.S. goods exports, including certain medicines, chemicals, machinery, and information technology products, and medical devices. Of course, a lot of that stuff needs silver. Pretty amazing. Now, China's economic activity cooled more than expected at the start of the fourth quarter, with an unprecedented slump in investment and slower growth in industrial output. I think that has also hurt silver. Slower economic activity and output means less silver being used. Fixed asset investment shrank 1.7% in the first 10 months of the year. So that's what's happening. It's crazy. A lot of different factors that play a role in the silver market, which is quite complex. The supply-demand fundamentals, but we are in a structural deficit of silver. And that likely is not going to abate by a whole lot, even based off of what I just reported to you. So that's something else to consider here as well. It is a revolving market, and there's still, stress in the market as far as supply between the LBMA, the SGE, and the COMEX. And so those are factors we're going to have to keep in mind and watch throughout as we take stock as to what's going to be happening in the week ahead. I am continuing to watch and hold silver at this point in time because I believe in it for the long term. And when you think about the price of silver at $50 today compared to 2011, silver has a long way to go. But still, what happened in 2011 compared to today in terms of the structural supply deficit that we're in our fifth year running now, I think that means that's a game changer in and of itself. And the dollar is much weaker now than it was back then, which means that silver has room to move to the upside, even as we see volatility play a role and even as consolidation comes back into place. Remember, folks, I'm looking beyond the big spikes in price from day to day. I report on them here on this channel, but I also want to see how silver settles in the marketplace. that means that we're going to see it really prove itself as an inflation hedge at the very least. Obviously, this year we've been spoiled as it's performed like a great investment, but there's still a lot of room for it to move in both ways, honestly. So we'll see what happens. Now, I like to bring you the latest news and analysis in the world of precious metals. If you enjoy what I do here, hope you will consider pressing that thumbs up button down below and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch. Have a diamond fist as you hold on to your silver, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.